Hey, welcome back everybody. A little bit of a bonus video for the week. This will definitely go into a beekeeping tip or a how-to playlist. So if you watch the channel or follow us on Instagram and Facebook, you will know that I removed the deeps over here well over a month ago. So the backstory is I had, well, some of the colonies were double deeps, and then I slid the queen excluder between the two deeps so the bees could hatch out, and then eventually the idea, it worked last year, they would backfill the cells with nectar, cure it to honey, and voila, you have deep honey supers, which if they fill every single frame, you can harvest about 100 pounds per deep. So that was the goal this year. And then we've had an extremely wet spring and now summer. June 1st, I guess, is technically summer. Or maybe it isn't, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Anyway, it's been extremely wet, and it's really caused the bees to slowly cure the nectar and cap it into honey. So I removed the deeps a while ago, let the bees rop them out, and I left them out in the bee yard, and that was my mistake. So what I'm about to show you is why you should not leave your equipment, or deeps especially that have drawn wax, in the bee yard when you have very wet weather. So the reason I'm out here is because I took a look at a few of the frames, not the ones on top. Those were in hive number 5, which I'm gonna tear down those frames because there's something going on with them. I don't know if it's disease or wax moths or whatever. I mean, one frame has evidence of a wax moth trail, and I think that's preventing the bees from really making good use of it. But the other ones, I'll show you in a second why I've decided to make this video tearing down the frames, which is very unfortunate, but sometimes necessary, mainly because they've become moldy of all things. So let me set these aside since that's not the main focus. However, what I was saying, I pulled this one out of number 5, and as you can see, that's evidence of a wax moth, and that's the trail that they burrow underneath the wax. But for instance, so here you go. There's a wax moth right there, greater or lesser, I'm not entirely sure. But I thought if I left the hives, yeah, here you go. I thought if I left the deeps, I had them sitting up and open, that enough sun, evening sun or afternoon sun, would prevent the wax moths from being attracted to it, but I guess that's not the case. There's one, maybe it's not that box, I'll start with that one, but here we go. Yeah. Between being moldy and wax moths, that was just a really dumb idea to leave them out here for as long as I did. So here I am. I got 4 deeps for the most part. They all have drawn wax like this, and I'm gonna be scraping it down into my bucket here. The positive thing is, whenever I do go to render wax, it'll give me a good amount to work with. So I'll just show you the beginning and then come back towards the end. But yeah, so when you go to store equipment, probably a good idea to store it in a dry place. Otherwise, you just got a mess like this to deal with. And this is a foundationless frame. Not to mention, I did want to do this anyway because quite a few frames that I have are fairly old, so this is just kind of much overdue anyway. Like I will use a frame and comb until it is just probably past its prime, but as long as the bees are using it, I mean, I don't see the need to have to replace it really. Leave that in. Yeah, this is it's got wire running through it, which doesn't really make it easy to tear down. But still do so. All right, well, that's the first of many. So I'll grab another one here in a second, maybe one that has foundation. Here we go. Show you the difference. So this is on plastic foundation, which typically makes it a whole lot easier to scrape the wax. So you can see the difference there. But yeah, that was just a bad idea to leave it out here for as long as I did. It takes the bees a lot of time to build wax. But I guess the silver lining is to give them a fresh start too, because come July I plan on making some splits and I'm going to be feeding them heavy, so having blank foundation to start with, it'll give them a new beginning, a fresh start, if you will. Alright, so just a few reasons why not to keep your equipment out on the bee yard. I'll tune back in, or actually I'll turn the camera back on towards the end and show you just how much wax will be in this 5-gallon bucket. Alright, that does it for today. I've been out here for probably an hour. I haven't been really watching the clock at all, but out of the 4 deeps, I'd say 90% of them had drawn comb, and this is the end result. So that is a whole lot of work. That one of two ways you can look at it: that I waste it because now the bees have to basically draw out all that comb. However, I may have said this earlier, but in case I didn't, plan on making a whole bunch of splits in July. So basically I'll pull 5 frames from one of the colonies, take 5 frames from here, and then it gives each colony 5 frames to work, draw out, and build upon. So kind of a silver lining. But yeah, that's a whole lot of wax to render here in a few weeks. Curious to see what a full... There is some air gaps in here. I have been smushing it down with the hive tool and all to make it work, but it's not slap full, it's not completely full, but it is pretty darn full. And if I had to guess, it's maybe 7 to 10 pounds of beeswax. So curious to see what that renders down to. Alright, hey, thanks for watching, everybody. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. And if you hit the bell, you'll receive notifications of future videos. Tune in a few weeks to check out the inspection videos towards the end of June. Alright, thanks for watching, everybody. And too bad you don't have smell-o-vision, because this stuff does have a very unique odor to it. I'll just leave it at that, because some of the frames had brood that didn't hatch out. I have yet to determine what this is. If anybody happens to know, that may have been from a dead out, and those are bees that were trying to survive. I'm not entirely sure what that is, or I mean, that looks like part of a bee, so I'm not entirely sure what that is, honestly. There's a wax moth trail, which makes sense why some of the hives did not accept the frames that I moved around over the last few weeks or month or so. Okay, that does it. Thanks for watching, everybody.